What is the dumbest thing you've ever done while you were high? One time when I was in high school, my mom went grocery shopping, and of course I used her time away to smoke a joint. When she came back with the groceries, she called me out to the car to help bring them inside. I put some Visine in, slipped on my flip-flops, and headed for the car. As I'm bringing the groceries in, maybe 2 or 3 bags at a time, I'm bringing them all the way into my bedroom instead of the kitchen. My mom locks the car, walks in the kitchen and says, "Where are all the groceries?" I'm standing there, eyes bloodshot because the Visine didn't kick in yet, like, oh crap. You know, we've done lots of videos of stupid things people do and say, but now we get to hear from people who did stupid stuff because they intentionally made themselves more stupid. I was typing on the computer, and I kept trying to make the numbers uppercase because I couldn't figure out why I was just getting percentage bracket, percentage star bracket plus. Well, to be fair, there have been plenty of sober people that have made that mistake too, so. This one time I was in front of my TV watching comedians in cars getting coffee. I had my bong on the coffee table between me and the TV. I'm seeing Jerry Seinfeld driving someone in New York, and suddenly I can see a cop car joining their lane behind them. I quietly and slowly took the bong down on the floor so the cops couldn't see it. Well, you can never be too careful. They could be seeing you through the TV. One night I go into the backyard to get high. I leave the backyard lights off so that my older neighbors can't see what I'm doing, because I'm immature like that. I got a glass of ice water in one hand, and I stepped into the pitch black backyard. Every time I move, I hear a sound like there's an animal stalking me in the many bushes in my backyard. Whenever I stop, the sound stops, but once I start moving again, it sounds to me like the leaves in the bushes in our backyard are rustling, and there's an animal in them. If I try to go back towards my door, the sound follows me. If I move further into the backyard, the sound follows me. I'm legit freaking out, thinking there's a big animal stalking me in my backyard. Turns out it was just the ice in my drink, clinking every time I moved. I never felt so stupid in my life. Ooh, you better watch out, that ice might jump right out of your cup and attack you. Once I was looking at the moon, and I was just noticing the detail in it. And I took a step forward to get a closer look, like a dummy. Yeah, I'm not sure that's gonna make much of a difference. The bouncer at the entrance of a club put his arms out to indicate that I should do so for him to pat me down. Instead, I thought he wanted a hug, so I hugged him. Well, I mean, he could probably still pat you down while you're hugging, so it probably wasn't a total loss. I got super blazed one night near the beginnings of the pandemic lockdown, and went across the street to the drugstore to get some chips and such. As I approached the automatic glass doors, I saw a person standing on the other side, so I waited for them to come through. I stood there waiting for what felt like an eternity. I was getting frustrated. Like, what's up with this clown? Can't they see I'm waiting for them? Then I realized it was just my reflection. Man, I hate waiting for my reflection. Every time I start to go, they start to go. It's like the worst case when you're stuck at a stop sign. I microwaved cheesecake because stoned me found it odd that it was always served cold and not hot like it should be. And on a related note, piping hot cheesecake will take those munchies away real quick. Yeah, I have actually found it a little bit odd because don't you make cheesecake, don't you have to bake it in the oven? So you have to bake it and then freeze it before you can eat it. A sober friend put the other high guy's phone in my bag. I found it funny, so I left it there. I completely forgot and took it home with me. Later on, an alarm goes, so I go investigate and then find the phone. Tried to tell the guy and call his phone, and the phone was in my hand. Man, it's crazy just how incapacitated and helpless people get when their phones aren't around. How did people even survive in the 90s? I convinced myself that I could really walk, and it was just mind over matter. And despite my boyfriend and friends telling me not to, I rose up from my wheelchair and promptly fell under the pub table. I was covered in bruises, and I had a sore bum for days. My boyfriend and his best mate had to retrieve me from under the table. You know what? I think smoking has finally fixed my legs. I think I'm finally cured thanks to this. No, it really didn't. Don't try it. I needed to go to the gas station to get another Dutch. Notice for whatever reason, my best friend's boyfriend had a full chicken costume in the back seat. I decided it would be funny to wear just the mask into the gas station. Didn't realize how bad I messed up till the girl at the register started screaming for the guy in the back room. They had just been robbed 2 weeks prior. Heh, well you sure pranked them, bro. Playing video games with my bro, splitting screen Modern Warfare 3. I'm absolutely crushing it, and then I realize I'm looking at the wrong screen. My dude is in the corner moving and shooting the wall. You know, maybe this is the reason split screen gaming just isn't really a thing anymore. A few dumb people just ruined it for everybody. I ate cat food. When I lived with my parents, they had 2 cats. They would buy huge bags of cat food and put the food in a 5-gallon bucket with a lid and keep it in the garage. Usually to keep it safe from outdoor animals, since it's the country, and there is possums, raccoons, mice, and other small critters. When I got home one night from hanging out with friends, and seen the bucket of food was open, I went inside and the self-feeder was close to empty, so I decided to refill it. When I went to the bucket of cat food, I wondered if it was stale, because I wasn't sure how long the bucket of food was left open. So I ate a handful and chewed a couple times until I realized what the heck I was doing and spit it out. I still don't know if it was stale or not. It was just crunchy. Yeah, I don't know, it's always kind of hard to get real feedback about cats' food when they can't really tell you much. I saw tiny bugs crawling over a little flower among the grass. I realized they had never heard music before. Poor little guys. So I put my phone next to the flower and gave them a concert of a lifetime. And that's how a colony of ants all went deaf. I was holding my cereal in one hand and a phone in the other, went to toss the phone on my bed, tossed my cereal instead. Man, I've seen a lot of examples of this, but I don't think it's quite as bad as the guy who threw his phone off a cliff. I almost gave myself hypothermia. While on a hike, I picked up a big rock to throw into a frozen lake and break the ice. I decided to walk out onto the ice to throw it. The rock hit the ice broke, I fell in, had to walk about 2 miles back to the car. Yeah, I mean, I'm always amazed when people manage to survive after falling into an ice lake. That does not look very easy to get out of. I was high as a kite with some friends. I looked up at the sky and I was in awe. There were dozens of shooting stars throughout the sky. About 2 minutes later, I realized the stars weren't moving, but the clouds were. These stars are shooting very slowly. I didn't feel so good, so I asked my friend for a box, probably to puke in. He brings a box, and I sit in it, proclaiming it solved all of my problems. I'm not entirely sure, but I think this one might have been written by a cat. Once, I was eating a burrito like a ravenous beast, and straight up bit my own finger. Another time, I was gaming, and my hands were cold, as I can get bad circulation. Well, I sat there thinking, man, it would be great if they made socks, but for your hands, and thought I had a great idea. 10 seconds go by, and then, oh yeah, gloves. Had a good laugh at myself for that one. Yeah, I mean, gloves are a thing, and also socks fit on your hands just as well as they fit on your feet, so I was with a group of friends with a bong in rotation. My turn in rotation, so I spark up. It was quite windy, and I'm not the best, so it was taking me a bit. One of them said something that caught my attention, so I stopped what I was doing to say something. And then I went back to trying to spark up. For the life of me, I could not get it. I was trying another 5 minutes, and I'm thinking, why the heck can't I do this? The wind ain't even blowing anymore. I was attempting to spark up an open water bottle, which was a bit to the left of the actual bong. 2 of my friends were watching the whole time, thinking I was just messing around. But no, I genuinely didn't even notice immediately. At least it gave all of us a good laugh. Wait, so you're telling me now that water isn't flammable? Not the dumbest, but laziest. I microwaved something, and when I opened the door to get it, because it wasn't centered on the turning plate, it was a bit further from the door. So I closed it and restarted the microwave another 5 seconds to get it closer to me so I didn't have to reach so far back to get it. Man, how big is your microwave? How would that make any difference? I was smoking in the car with my friends in the movie theater parking lot, and my mouth got really dry. Interrupted my friend's conversation and yelled, "Guys, feel my teeth." Wow, those are some very dry teeth. I saw my reflection in a Ruffles chip and cried because I thought I looked too much like a frog. Yeah, I don't think you can see your reflection in a Ruffles chip. You probably were seeing something else. I forgot how 3D works. I was looking at a window and didn't realize why one part of the window was bigger than the other. Oh, because it's closer. Yeah, that makes sense. Man, so believe it or not, I've never been high of any kind. So do you basically just lose all sense of brain power? Because I don't understand how you have to start re-figuring out everything around you. Back in high school, my buddy and myself would drive around and hotbox a few nights a week. We were always prepared with eye drops, gum, and sanitizer. And body spray so we wouldn't smell like dank when we got home afterwards. Anyways, one time we forgot all of the post-chiefing essentials, and were stressed out that our parents would find out that we were blazed after our session. We ended up finding a bottle of eye drops in his car, but still smelled pretty ripe. For some reason, we thought it'd be a good idea to roll in a random person's front yard to get the smell of bud off of us, and get more of a natural outdoors scent on ourselves. So we got out to do some log rolls in this person's yard, got back into his car, and he dropped me off at home. I walk into my house, and my parents are on the couch watching some TV or something, and they ask, "Where the heck have you been?" Apparently the person whose yard we just rolled in just cut their grass, and my gray shirt was covered in grass stains, and I had dirt and grass clippings and crap all over my clothes and in my hair. It didn't get any of the kush smell off my clothes, because they walked up to me and immediately knew I was stoned. I ended up getting grounded for a couple weeks, and my friend and myself had a good laugh at ourselves the next day in class. I randomly think of this moment once in a blue moon, and it cracks me up. Yeah, I mean, even if you were able to get some of the smell off of you, I mean, as soon as you get back in the car, you're just gonna get completely covered in it again right away. I went through the McDonald's drive-thru and ordered a large chocolate Coke. I mean, I'm no expert on soda, but that has probably existed at some point in the past or future. I do this all the time, and it pisses me off. I get some juice or milk from the fridge, take the cap off, and be like, oh, I forgot to shake this. I proceed to shake the juice all over myself, kitchen floor, and my dog. More milk has been poured into my German Shepherd's ears than she probably drank as a puppy. So I can kind of understand doing this for juice because it does tend to separate, but I don't think you really need to do that for milk, with or without the lid on. So this is when I first started smoking pot. I was sitting watching a movie in my apartment when I noticed a red dot on the wall. It took me a while to figure out where it was coming from, as I lived in the top floor unit. I noticed the laser light projecting from the backyard of a house that was on the other side of the complex fence. It was super dark and windy, and it created shadows, and it looked like someone was posted up in the yard pointing a gun with their laser light in my direction, so I freaked out. I called 911. When the officer was on the way, I realized it smelled like pot, so I quickly lit an incense burner, and he shortly arrived. I had a feeling he thought I was just super stoned, but when I showed him the red light, and he saw what I saw, he freaked out too and called for backup. There was a whole crew of officers at my apartment evacuating the building. The responding officer stayed with me until his team went in to investigate. Well, it turned out that this poor little, older-than-dirt lady opened the door, confused of course. She directed the officers to the light, and it turned out it was a motion sensor that she had knocked over, and the wind was blowing the trees and bushes she had, so it looked like people were in her backyard. From that point on, I will never call the cops while high about lights. The cop peeked through the window the light was coming through and drew his gun and told me to get down, and army crawled to the kitchen while calling for backup. Well, okay, were all the cops high too then? That seems like a bit of an overreaction just for a little laser pointer. When I was in college, I was super broke like most college kids. Like, can't afford basics like shaving cream or toothpaste half the time. I got high and went to an ATM to get some cash. I probably had $60 in my bank account and took out $40. But I was high and for some reason thought I requested $20 from the machine and just got $40 dispensed. So dummy me was afraid that I'd get caught and goes into the bank, up to the teller and hands her $20 and said the ATM gave me too much. She was confused, since this literally never happens, and took my money. I shambled off like an idiot. ATMs don't give out extra money. Wow, so you're so broke that you can't afford essentials, but you can afford weed, and you can afford to just give away most of your money to the bank. My friends don't let me live this down to this day. About 5 of us were chilling at my apartment back in 2008, smoking some dank weed. I had been smoking pretty heavily for a year or so before this, so I had a decent tolerance, or so I thought. Anyway, we smoke out on my balcony and finish up and are all completely shredded. We go inside and decide we should play some Guitar Hero on my Xbox 360. Sounds like a jam to me. There's actually enough of us to use all the instruments and make a 4-man band. So naturally I booted up the PS3 and got Cloverfield off my Blu-ray shelf and put it in. I sat down in between a couple of buddies on the couch. Nobody said a word since we came inside, and proceed to boot up the deleted scenes. We were about halfway through the second deleted scene, and my buddy sitting next to me with his Guitar Hero mic in hand, and lifted up to his mouth goes, "Dude, why the heck are we watching Cloverfield deleted scenes?" An hour of straight stone laughter ensued. I snapped out of it, but man, I realized how good this stuff we had was that night. Later we went and got tacos and Jack in the Box, and had a great rest of the night. One of my favorite memories. Oh well, that's about as many stoner stories as I can handle for one night. So that's gonna do it for today. I will see you next time.